The last siren of Black Hollow. The calm before the storm. Black Hollow was a small town nestled in a valley, surrounded by thick forests that seemed to hold secrets older than the town itself. The residents knew each other by name. The streets were quiet after dark, and life was simple. That was until the night the siren wailed. It was a cold October evening. The town's single emergency siren, mounted atop the old firehouse, blared through the silence. It was meant only for tornadoes or disasters, but the sky was clear and the ground steady. Windows flickered with light as people woke, their faces peering out with confusion and fear. No one could remember the last time it had gone off. Mayor Wilkins' voice crackled over the emergency broadcast. "All residents, stay inside. Lock your doors. Do not open them for anyone. This is not a drill." A whisper of decay. Across town, Ellie, a 17-year-old high school senior, stood in her bedroom, heart pounding. She'd been texting her best friend Mia when the siren started. The last message she received read, "They're here. It's worse than we thought." Her parents were downstairs barricading the door. The television blared in the background with a frantic news anchor describing attacks in nearby cities. People were biting each other. Hospitals were overflowing. Victims were dying and then rising again. Ellie's phone buzzed. Another text from Mia. "Don't trust anyone, not even me." A crash from the street below made Ellie's blood run cold. She peeked through the curtains and saw Mr. Grayson, the elderly man from next door, staggering down the street. His face was pale, his eyes clouded, and his mouth dripping with something dark. The first encounter. By midnight, Black Hollow was unrecognizable. Fires burned in the distance, and screams echoed through the once quiet town. Ellie and her parents huddled in the living room, listening as something scraped against their front door. A low, guttural moan seeped through the cracks. Her father, gripping a baseball bat, whispered, "Stay quiet. Don't move." But the moan turned into a growl. The door rattled violently. Whatever was outside was no longer alone. The window shattered as pale, clawed hands reached in, grabbing blindly. Her mother screamed as one of the creatures lunged inside, its rotting face twisted in a grotesque grin. Ellie swung a lamp, shattering it against the thing's head. It didn't stop. Her father swung the bat with a sickening crack, and the creature collapsed. But more were coming. The road to nowhere. They had to leave. Grabbing what they could, Ellie and her parents slipped out through the back door into the woods. The streets were swarming with the undead, their moans forming a grotesque symphony of hunger. In the woods, they met others who had fled, a group of neighbors, trembling and pale. Among them was Mia. Her clothes were torn and her arm was bandaged. She avoided Ellie's eyes. "We have to get to the old church," one man whispered. "It's stone, with heavy doors. We'll be safe there." As they moved through the forest, Ellie noticed Mia lagging behind, clutching her arm. "Are you bitten?" Ellie whispered. Mia's silence was answer enough. The Church of Shadows. The church loomed ahead, its silhouette stark against the moonlit sky. Inside, the survivors barricaded the doors and windows. The air was thick with fear and the smell of sweat. Ellie confronted Mia. "You're infected. You know what that means?" Mia's eyes filled with tears. "I'm not ready to die, Ellie." Before Ellie could respond, a scream echoed from the back of the church. One of the survivors had turned. Chaos erupted as the infected attacked, biting and clawing. The group scattered, and Ellie lost sight of her parents in the frenzy. The last stand. By dawn, only Ellie and a handful of others remained. The church was overrun. They fled to the bell tower, the undead clawing at the stairs below. Ellie found an old hunting rifle, its barrel rusted but functional. "We can't stay here," someone whispered. "We'll starve." Ellie's eyes hardened. "We fight. If we're going down, we're taking as many of them with us as we can." As the sun rose, painting the valley in a golden light, the survivors prepared for their final stand. The bell tolled, drawing the horde to the church. Ellie took aim, her hands steady despite the fear coursing through her. One by one, they fell. But for everyone they killed, two more took its place. The siren's echo. Ellie never saw the bite coming. One moment she was reloading, the next teeth sank into her arm. She screamed, shoving the creature away, but it was too late. She stared at the wound, her vision blurring as the infection spread. To this day, travelers steer clear of Black Hollow. Some hear the sirens' warning on quiet nights. Others claim the undead's moans drift on the wind. None who enter ever return.